Alien computer virus found at nuclear missile sites? An unnamed source claims they have found strange computer code in our defense computers. According to the source, this code moves and changes. In his words, this is the most complex thing the source has ever seen. The source said this code or virus must be alien and alive. We have artificial intelligence, but this is something more. What seems to be the target? Nuclear missile sites that are across the globe. Many people who are aware, or who are becoming aware of the UFO phenomenon, are not aware of the fact that UFOs have been visiting and interacting with nuclear missile sites across the globe for decades. This is a well-documented fact that dates back all the way to December of 1948. Significantly, the UFO activity occasionally transcends mere surveillance and involves direct and unambiguous interference with our strategic weapons systems. Numerous cases include reports of mysterious malfunctions of large numbers of nuclear missiles just as one or more UFOs hovered nearby. Declassified Soviet Ministry of Defense documents confirm that such incidents also occurred in the former USSR. The above quote is from UFO researcher Robert Hastings, who has been researching the UFO phenomenon and its relation to nuclear missile sites for a long time. Here is a clip of Robert speaking at the National Press Club in 2010. The encounter at Minot Air Force Base. Minot Air Force Base is located in North Dakota. In the 1960s it was a major strategic air command base, responsible for housing ICBMs, nuclear missiles. On August 25, 1966, a team at the base was ordered to investigate a very high multicolored light that was positioned well above the base. The team confirmed the object, as well as a second object. The object was also tracked on radar. It rose and descended several times, and eventually descended to ground level about 15 miles away from the base. According to the official report, when the team was about 10 miles from the landing site, static disrupted radio contact with them. 5 to 8 minutes later, the glow diminished, and the UFO took off. 1. This incident lasted approximately 4 hours, and was confirmed by 3 different nuclear missile sites. The encounter at Malmstrom Air Force Base. The UFO incursion at Malmstrom Air Force Base in Montana is one of the most remarkable events in this history of UFO encounters with the military. This occurred in March of 1967 at a base that was responsible for a large amount of nuclear weapons. Here's what happened. An excerpt taken from the book UFOs for the 21st Century Mind. Written by Richard Dolan. An airman with the Oscar Flight Launch Control Center, LCC, saw a star-like object zigzagging high above him. Soon, a larger and closer light also appeared and acted in a similar way. The airman called his non-commissioned officer, and the 2 men watched the light streak through the sky, maneuvering in impossible ways. The NCO phoned his commander, Lieutenant Robert Salas, who was not impressed. He ordered the NCO to keep watching the display and report back if the objects got any closer. Minutes later, that is precisely what happened. Shouting into the phone, the NCO told Salas that a red, glowing UFO was hovering outside the front gate. Salas woke his commander, Lieutenant Fred Mewald. As he briefed Mewald, an alarm went off in the small capsule, and both men saw a no-go light turn on for one of the missiles. Within seconds, about 10 of the missiles went down in succession. 20 miles away, at the Echo Launch Control Center, the same scenario took place. Strike teams were sent to the 2 launch facilities, where maintenance crews were at work and had been watching UFOs hover over each of their sites. The missiles were down for most of the day. Neither the Air Force investigation, nor Boeing's tests found any cause for the shutdown. Over the past few years, several Air Force personnel have come forward to confirm that something did happen, and in 2010 Salas was part of a press conference at the National Press Club in Washington, D.C., that included these personnel. Why are UFOs deactivating our nuclear missiles? This source claims this virus may have a trigger or be an all-for-all switch. Other sources claim strange things are headed toward Earth. Could this be the sign of war? An intergalactic war? In 2 emails that were leaked to WikiLeaks and are being called the Podesta emails. Here is both emails. Email for John Podesta from Edgar Mitchell meeting ASAP. Dear John, as 2015 unfolds, I understand you are leaving the administration in February. It is urgent that we agree on a date and time to meet to discuss disclosure and zero-point energy, at your earliest available after your departure. My Catholic colleague Terry Mansfield will be there too, to bring us up to date on the Vatican's awareness of ETI. Another colleague is working on a new space treaty, citing involvement with Russia and China. However, with Russia's extreme interference in Ukraine, I believe we must pursue another route for peace in space and ZPE on Earth. I met with President Obama's Honolulu childhood friend, U.S. Ambassador Pamela Hamamoto on July 4 at the U.S. mission in Geneva, when I was able to tell her briefly about zero-point energy. I believe we can enlist her as a confidant and resource in our presentation for President Obama. I appreciate Aaron's assistance in working with Terry to set up our meeting. Best regards, Edgar. Edgar D. Mitchell, SCD Chief Science Officer and Founder, Chuan Trek Apollo 14 astronaut, 6th man to walk on the moon. P.S. Terry's cousin by marriage and former mayor of Chicago Jane Byrne died recently. Rahm Emanuel was at her funeral. And the second email. Email for John Podesta, care of Aaron Space Treaty. Dear John, because the war in space race is heating up, I felt you should be aware of several factors as you and I schedule our Skype talk. Remember, our nonviolent ETI from the contiguous universe are helping us bring zero-point energy to Earth. They will not tolerate any forms of military violence on Earth or in space. The following information in italics was shared with me by my colleague Carol Rosen, who worked closely for several years with Wernher von Braun before his death. Carol and I have worked on the Treaty on the Prevention of the Placement of Weapons in Outer Space, attached for your convenience. New great news! Federal Minister for Planning, Development and Reforms Ahsan Iqbal proposed cooperation in space technology between Pakistan and China as part of the historic declaration, saying it will take the Pak-China relations to new heights. A consortium of 35 Chinese companies was also formed that will invest in Pakistan. Pakistan and China on Wednesday signed 20 Memoranda of Understanding, MOU, worth $2 billion, emphasis on sustainability. This is the first part of the email. There were a number of web links which we will place in the description. Now for the second part of the email. We're arguably closer than ever to war in space. Most satellites orbiting Earth belong to the US, China, and Russia. And recent tests of anti-satellite weapons don't exactly ease the scare factor. It sounds like science fiction, but the potential for real-life Star Wars is real enough. It's just not new. Fears of battles in space go back to the Cold War and several initiatives, like President Reagan's Star Wars missile defense system. Deputy Defense Secretary Robert Work spoke to Congress in June about the threat. He said during a speech the technology the U.S. developed during the Cold War allows it to project more power, more precisely, more swiftly, at less cost. Take a moment to think about everything satellites do. GPS, surveillance, and communications all depend on them. And the Scientific American notes you can disable satellites without missiles. Simply spray painting lenses or breaking antennas is enough. President Obama requested $5 billion for space defense in the 2016 fiscal budget. And a former Air Force officer told the Scientific American most of the United States capabilities in space have been declassified to send a clear message: there are no rules for war in space. Best regards, Edgar. Edgar D. Mitchell, SCD. Apollo 14 astronaut. 6th man to walk on the moon. Zero-point energy consultant. In any case, to be part of a government leak from WikiLeaks, this is very strange. What is really going on over our heads? Stay paranoid, my friends.